Yeah, you think so? Okay. Okay, now let's start the International Youth Forum. Is that better? Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, I think mic works, and I'll see you guys in 5 minutes. I'll just leave the microphone here. Okay, everybody, this is not a test this time. We have 5 minutes until the official start of International Youth Forum of SIGNIS World Congress 2022. So if there are still anybody out in the hallway, if you can come into the hall and take your seat so we can have these wonderful women and men come up to the stage and share their opinion and experience, that'd be great. So you have 5 minutes. If anybody want to run to the bathroom real quick, now is the time to do it. And if you guys are all seated by 2 o'clock sharp, then we can kick it off. Thank you very much. 저는 마스크 계속 쓰고 하나요? 네. Hi everyone. We have 1 minute left now before the event starts. So anybody that is still lingering about the hall, if you guys can all come in and take your seat, and please fill the front seat. That way you can actually make eye contact and communicate better with the speakers, and we'll put the speakers more at ease if you guys are up front. So if you guys can come farther down as much as possible, that would greatly help the speakers. Thank you very much. Okay, nobody's moving. Never mind. And I'm sure you've all already done it, but just as a reminder, if you haven't turned your cell phone into silent mode or airplane mode, please be sure to do so right now. I can't check whether mine is in silent mode because mine is up there, but so if the cell phone rings, I know it's mine. So. I guess I should have done the 1 minute warning 5 minutes ago. Then we'd all be ready. Okay, we are really gonna get started anytime now. So anybody who wants to participate or listen in on International Youth Forum, please come into the auditorium and please take your seats. See how I'm not cracking any jokes anymore? That means I'm serious. Okay, I think we are basically all here. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Seung-yeon, and I'm honored to host this, what I consider the most important part of SIGNIS World Congress 2022. I say it's important because this is the time that we get to hear from the leaders of next generation, the people who are going to lead this world into the future. I myself was a youth in media industry. I published my first book when I was 15, so I was a youth then. I'm still in media industry, but I'm not youth anymore. But as any content producer, even if my full-time job is writing books, my life basically revolves around the rhythm of social media, of YouTube and Instagram posts. So it's a great privilege for me that wonderful women and men from 7 different countries have gathered here today to share with us their insight on digital media. And on today's theme, which is digital new media and the life of faith. There should be something going on here, but since there is not, let's give them a great round of applause. Okay, usually there should be something that's introducing our special performance group, so I'll just speak about them. Before we kick it off, there it is. Okay, before we kick it off, we are going to, the Focolare music group is going to help us focus our mind a little bit before we get down to serious business. Focolare music group is composed of young members of Focolare movement, which is a lay Catholic organization of which I'm sure many of you are familiar. They will be singing about evangelical messages of life, declaring love of Christ, and achieving a world that's united as one. Please welcome the Focolare music group onto the stage.
세상을 바꾸는 힘을 가질 거야. 이제 더 이상 멈출 수 없어. 마음 가득한 이 사랑을 벅찬 이 사랑 노래할 거야. 온 세상에 울려 퍼지게. 바로 지금 시작해봐. 한 걸음 내딛는 거야. 더 높은 곳 향해.
주님 저를 평화의 도구 되게 하소서. 받기보다 기쁘게 주며 사랑받기보다 사랑하는 평화의 도구가 되게 하소서.
주님 저를 평화의 도구 되게 하소서. 받기보다 기쁘게 주며 사랑받기보다 사랑하는 평화의 도구가 되게 하소서.
분열이 있는 곳에 일치를 절망이 있는 곳에 희망을 다툼이 있는 곳에 용서를 용서하는 평화의 도구가
주님 저를 평화의 도구 되게 하소서. 받기보다 기쁘게 주며 사랑받기보다 사랑하는 평화의 도구가 되게 하소서.
Listen to the heartbeat of the world, calling through the darkness of the night. Like a silent song, it fills the air, waiting for the dawn to give it rose. Semina la pace, tu vedrai che la tua speranza rivivrà. Spine fra le mani piangerai, ma un mondo nuovo nascerà. Reach all the gaps and call for resolution. When tears of hate do not exist no more. The world's a home, a place where we can live and smile, where hopes of peace are not a dream. Amici sguardi immaginarci quando già somietta migliaia. Keine Sorge, Tränen accendami, Echan mio reglie, accendami. Apre l'orizzonte, tornati, siente il latito dell'amore. Ahora es el momento de empezar una senda de paz, de luz y de amor. Si nascerà il mondo della pace, di guerra non si parlerà mai più. La pace è un dono che la vita ci darà, un sogno che si avvererà. Lega pure in prova e scia, 온 세상이 먼저 나가니 어떤 것을 사라지고 새로운 세상을 보게 되니 온 세상 평화 이루리라.
A big round of applause. The folklore music group, ladies and gentlemen. There are so many things that's going on in the world that makes us sad, but it's amazing when young people sing together, everything just seems okay. And I think that's why International Youth Forum is very important to all of us. So let's kick it off. Let's get down to business. We are going to talk about digital media today. And I think the generation that's being called to speak up today is called the digital natives, for a very good reason, that they've been in contact with digital technology, and especially since social media, since basically they were born. And with COVID-19, I think the rest of us, the older generation, have been playing catch up since government organizations or business organizations or religious institutions have started using non-face-to-face interaction devices such as Zoom meetings or metaverses. And that's why I think, and there's been some positives and some negatives. The positives, of course, being that people who previously did not have outlet for their voices are now being able to speak and now are able to be heard. The negatives being that, as you well know, a lot of the prejudices and hate that's been brewing underneath in the dark recesses of humanity has come to surface. And this tool that's been designed to hold us together is unfortunately in some cases driving us apart. And it's the generation of people that are going to be speaking today that will probably find solution to this problem and turn social media technology into a force for good, a tool for spreading evangelical messages of hope and love. So the International Youth Forum is divided into part 1 and part 2. In the first part, we have 7 extraordinary youth from all over the world that literally cross the ocean in airplanes in these hard times to share with us their experience and their special insights. In the second part, we'll watch a presentation and documentary prepared by academics and students of Sogang University, which is where we are right now. Before we kick off with the presentation by the youth, we need some academic framework to understand what's going on in general in the world of social media. And Professor Jeong will give us a little keynote speech to orient us theoretically before we hear diversity of voices. Professor Jeong is a very recognized academic. His resume is here. It's very long. I will go through it very quickly. Go through his distinguished career very quickly. He majored in Western history at Seoul National University and then communication here at Sogang University. Then he went to the US where he earned his PhD in communication from University of Maryland. And he had a stint in West Illinois University, and now he's currently teaching communication at Seongyungan University here in Seoul. Many of his academic papers and persuasive communication have been awarded with various international academic organizations. And now he's the chairman of Media Psychology Research Society of the Korean Association for Broadcasting and Telecommunication Studies, and is currently editor-in-chief of Asian Communication Research, an international journal issued by the Korean Society for Journalism and Communication Studies. So what that means is that here's a man who has dedicated his entire life into finding out how to communicate better as human beings, and he will give a keynote speech on how to communicate with the world in the digital media age. Please welcome Professor Dr. Jeong onto the stage with a big round of applause. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great honor for me to give this invited lecture here, the 2022 SIGNIS World Congress Global Youth Forum. I want to thank the chairman, Sungwol Francis Kim, and the organizing committee for giving me this privileged opportunity to share my stories and my ideas about how to communicate to the world. Today I'd like to talk how young Christians should communicate to the world in this digital media era. Before I discuss the topic, I'd like to introduce myself with some personal stories. Right here, as Seong introduced, I studied at University of Maryland, which is nearby Washington D.C., capital of United States, and then I taught many years at a university at Illinois, USA. Then I returned to Korea and teaching communication at Songyungan University here in Seoul. I have been living in big cities for many years right now, but I was just a country boy when I was little. This is me and my father in my hometown. I was born in this town in a very small village in a mountain area, and there was one church there, and the villagers built this church by their own hands, and my father was the first pastor of the church. Okay, this is a small church, but we had a great services and activities, especially in Christmas season. And then, forgive me these old pictures, but at the left side, I was at the center, and then with my friends with same age, and then we are certainly, singing some Christmas carols in the Christmas Eve. And the next one is a picture in school. Now I'm at the end of the row, and the man in the picture was the vice principal of the school and one of the only 4 teachers in the school. And then if you look closely, actually the children in the 2 pictures are exactly the same. They are 13 students. They are all first graders in the school. We have only 50 or 60 students in the school. We were born together in the same village at the same year, and then we went to school together, we went to church together, and then we grew together while helping our parents farming. The school building was not that great, okay, but actually we had a very good time, and I think I was a good student there. How do I know? Okay, here is evidence. This is me at the center, and then I got some award. Okay. But this picture shows a hint about my town, my village. But it says, the signboard says, Himang Resettlement Village. Himang means hope. Okay, so there was a hope village, what we call Himangchon. The next line that says, sponsored by World Vision International. As many of you may know, is World Vision International is international relief organization based on Christian value to help children in need and worldwide. I was one of the children that World Vision helped, and then not only me, and all the children in the town, in the village, were beneficiaries of the World Vision. And as a Canadian couple, and sent me money and the clothes, and then postcards, and then that means a lot to me, and then it is so special. And then this is one of the postcards they sent me, and it says, "Our dear little song." Okay, greetings from 7 granddaughters and grandparents, and it's so lovely. And then there is a list of the names, but only first names, and I really want to find them, and I want to say thank them, okay, for their generosity and their love and kindness. But I couldn't find them. I tried, but there is no last name here only first names. So if you know or find one of these people, you know, especially in people in Canada, and then please let me know. I really want to meet them in person. Like this, it's Christianity was the essential part of my life since I was young, and then the church, and then people in the village, and also World Vision helped me with the help for those people. I was able to finish my study, and then to help me to make my dream come true. And now I'm living on my dream. I'm teaching communication in my university, and then teaching Bible stories in my church. And then that's all God's grace. So it is very special. This lecture, you know, talking to young Christians about communication is so special to me. Okay, let me start my lecture with this survey results, and this is the results of annual survey about the public image of Christian organizations conducted by one of the newspaper company in Korea. Is 국민일보, and the results show that in 2022 only 18.1% of citizens trust Christian organizations in Korea. It's pretty low. And graph also show that the percentage of the people who trust Christians significantly dropped. As compared to 2020, there was a decrease by 13.7%. Okay, Christians were not viewed positively in Korea anymore, but negative images of Christians worsened. Regarding age, only 11.7% of young people between 18 and 29 years old, so-called NZ generation, only 11.7% of those people trust Christian organizations. For non-Christians, it is even worse. Only 6.6% of the non-Christians trust Korean Christian organizations. It's no good. Lots of Christians actually do good works, but Christians are negatively viewed. Citizens formed their perceptions and images about, you know, Christians or other groups of people mainly through communications with the media and communications with others, including Christians and non-Christians. Thus, these results are in part the consequence of our communication with our neighbors through either mass media or social media or interpersonal communication. The result indicate that we should communicate better with the people around us. Okay, today I'd like to share my thoughts on how young Christians communicate well in this digital media era. Okay, and the media environment keeps changing. Okay, but what's the most critical aspect of that change? To understand the changes in the media environment, I want to compare the media environment in my past and present. Okay, that's the past and then present. So when I was living in my hometown, Hope Village, there was no TV in my house, but I have had my favorite programs. I waited for the program every day. It was a daily radio drama. It's called Maruchi and Arach, a boy and girl is very good at taekwondo, and they destroyed evil man. Is called Blue Skull number 13. Anyone remember that show? Yeah, okay. There's 파란 해골 13호, right? I still remember the song. Although I could hear only the sound, the high quality radio drama produced by voice actors and professionals was fundamentally different from print material. And then I couldn't help but fell in love with that drama. I think it was the time for me when I was entering the era of mass media. We can symbolize the communication processes in mass media era like this. Okay, S means senders or source, producers, and we have media, and we have individual audiences. In the mass media era, only small number of experts and professionals create content, and then they communicate those stories through very limited number of the channels and medias. And then here is all the audience unilaterally receive the same media content at the same time. So this is pretty much one-way communication, but also we can see very clear distinction between senders and receivers, or producers and consumers, right? How different is the media environment in my current life from 40 years ago? Okay, believe it or not, I still don't have TV in my house, but each of 5 family members in my house, they watch something with their own media, smartphone and then personal computers. They watch video content from hundreds of different sources, like multiple YouTube channels. And then I watch, so when I was little, only 1 or 2 channels, but now we have hundreds of the channels. That's like explosion of the media. In addition, we don't just consume media content, but create our own content. And then the top, left top, that's my own YouTube channels. I ran my own YouTube channels. It's called Dr. Jeong's Persuasion Seminar. Okay, and then I created the educational material with my just phone, and then posted more than 100 videos, and then I create content, but also I distributed my content and also others through my Facebook. So I'm mostly is consumer or the audience of the messages, but also I'm a creator. I'm a distributor of the message. So, in the social media era, okay, the senders and audiences are not separated, but overlapped. The audience plays not only content consumers, but also creators and also distributors with their own media, which is social media. Okay, so communication processes in social media era can be symbolized in this way. Here, the senders and audience are not separated, but they are just one social media users. And then all social media users are anyway, some way interconnected with other social media users. Stories and content created by traditional legacy media are still great, but once they picked up by social media users and started to be distributed in social media, and that could be more influential. So in short, in this digital and social media era, story producers, audience become one, okay, and play as media, okay. Now there is no separation about source, sender, receiver, but social media users, which are individuals most likely, and they are media. Okay? So this model shows the importance of communication networks among social media users and individuals. in the social media era, individuals and users of social media play role as media, but it has been, and it was already known that individuals could play as important media in the communication processes. The Paul Lazarsfeld in Columbia University, one of the four founding fathers in communication communication studies. And this study about mass media and voting in the 1940s presidential elections in the United States, he found this: citizens did not make their mind based on messages from mass media, but they made up their mind based through communication with others, especially with the opinion leaders. Opinion leaders mediates the message from mass media to ordinary citizens. So opinion leaders are individuals, but they actually played as media. Okay. So Lazarsfeld proposed a theory is called the two-step flow theory, and then a message from mass media flows through opinion leaders. Okay. There is a study 50 years ago, and then the right one is recent book. Okay, Dr. Damon Santora at University of Pennsylvania, and he recently published this book, Change: How to Make Big Things Happen. He found this: micro-influencers and celebrities, they have millions of subscribers and followers, and micro-influencers may have a strong influence on simple spread. Simple spread is just dissemination of news or information, but not much effective in changing beliefs and behaviors of people, which is more complex. Okay, so Dr. Santora called it, not simple spread, but complex spread. For complex spread, in complex spread, people not only find the information, but also they change their beliefs, change their behaviors based on the message. But complex spread occurs not only by one connection, okay, but by many overlapped multiple connections among individuals. Okay, you got that? Right? So there's not from one message, one connection to micro-influencers, but when I have multiple networks, relationships, and then they all send me the similar and same messages and show the same behavior, I'm more likely to follow their behaviors. So Dr. Santora called it wide bridge connection, okay, where there are a lot of many multiple overlapped connections or networks. And in that wide bridge connection, individuals and social media users play a role as an important media. Okay, so individuals have been mediating messages, or they were media, even in many years ago. But with the social media revolution, the individual as media become more important than ever. Okay. So I think we need to remember this. Me as an individual, when I use my own media, I'm media. Okay. And Christians are all Christians. Individual Christian is Christian media. So when you live according to the word of Jesus in our lives, and when we mediate or convey those messages, and then we will function as media that expand the kingdom of God. Okay, so individual Christians' role as media has existed before, but now with the social media revolution, it became even more important and more influential. Okay. I think I need to go back. Oh no, that's okay. So in this digital era, and then we may go back to the fundamental question, how to communicate. Okay, so me as Christian media, how to communicate to the world in this age, in this era. Okay. I have been researching and teaching communication and persuasion for more than 20 years. Ancient scholars like Aristotle and then Cicero in Roman Republic, and they initiate the study of communication, persuasion, and rhetoric, and then they actually created some fundamental knowledge about communication and persuasion. And after World War II, scientific methods were employed, and the psychologists and communication scholars developed many theories and knowledge of persuasion and communication. I study those theories, and while I study those theories, I realized that many fundamental principles of communication and persuasion already stated in the Bible. Okay, especially when I'm reading the Gospels, I realized that the Nazareth Jesus already demonstrated to us how to communicate with others. Then I wrote a small booklet about how Jesus and Apostle Paul communicated with others. And then today I'd like to share some of the book. Okay. First, let me talk about one of the scenes from my favorite movie, Dead Poets Society. Here is father and mother, and then their son Neil. And Neil was a high school student, but he fell in love acting and performance. But the father wants Neil to quit those acting, but focus on exams to enter a medical school. And in this scene, the father say this: let's quit the school right away and transfer to a military high school. You will enter Harvard University and become a doctor. You are getting the opportunity I never dreamed of. When Neil was shocked by his orders, and he tried to say something. Father, I fear. Then his father said, tell me what you fear. What is it? Okay. You know, communication is not all about words, but sometimes nonverbal communication, nonverbal languages, such as facial expression and tones, are more important. If he said more tenderly, tell me what you feel, son. What is it? Okay. If he said this, they might be engaged in some genuine conversation. But in the scene, the father tone and facial expressions showed no recognition of the Neil's emotions and feelings at all, but showed only dominance. And then the son replied helplessly, nothing. There is communication breakdown. That's the failure of communication, and that could lead to a tragedy. In the movie, actually, that led to a suicide of the son. Okay, so to communicate, we must first feel the other person's feelings together. That's the empathy. Okay? Only after expressing empathy, their hearts open, and then there could be opportunity to persuade and communicate. Since the father left, the mother approached the son and then looked up her son, expressing her concerns about the son's pain. Then suddenly the son started talking and revealed his inner stories. Okay, that's the communication. Okay, The father's logical arguments closed his son's mouth, okay, but the mother opened his son's heart without saying a word. And this shows the power of empathy in communication, in persuasion. In 2014, Pope Francis visited the Hemi Cathedral here in Seoul and gave an important speech. And he also talked about the importance of empathy. Let me read some of his speech. Finally, together with a clear sense of our own Christian identity, authentic dialogue also demand a capacity for empathy. For dialogue to take place, there has to be this empathy. We are challenged to listen not only to the words which others speak, but to the unspoken communication of their experiences, their hopes and aspirations, their struggles, and their deepest concerns. Such empathy must be the fruit of our spiritual insight and personal experience, which lead us to see others as brothers and sisters, and to hear in beyond their words in action what their hearts wish to communicate. It was actually Jesus Christ, or Nazareth Christ, Jesus, who best exemplified the power of empathy. In the book of Mark, chapter 1, verse 40, there was a story of Jesus healing a leper. It reads, a man with leprosy came to him and begged him on his knees, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." Filled with compassion, Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said, "be clean." Immediately, the leprosy left him, and then he was cured. Amen. Okay. Here, the Greek word for compassion is splanklitomai in Greek, which means gut-breaking pain. Okay. And he saw the leper who was beggar, and he did not consider him dirty or infectious, but Jesus first felt the leper's pain with his own body. That's the empathy, feeling others' feelings. And Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him. The act of reaching out and touching is intense nonverbal communication. At that time, and later also, people suffering from leprosy or Hansen disease were treated worse than animals, and then treated as germs or great sinners. But Jesus touched the man. Thus, when Jesus reached out his hand to the leper must have been shocked, as burned by lightning, okay, and felt Jesus' love to his bone. Not only the leper, but also any readers who once had a Hansen disease feel the same way as the leper felt when they read this Mark 1:41. And they must feel the love of Jesus toward him. I think so. How do I know? Himang Resettlement Village again. This is my hometown. In the town, all the people were once suffered from Hansen disease. And then they were resettled in a very remote area in Korea. Some of them actually many of them were once beggars, just like a leper in the Bible. Okay? And then for some reason, most of them in my town were Christians. They first built the church. Okay? And then they created a community, lovely community. My father also got Hansen disease during the Korean War when he was 16 years old. And then he broke up with his family and wandered, was treated, and later he was treated at Aang Hospital in Yeosu and received a school education there and went to seminary to become a preacher. At the first place he was sent to was Sogang Church in Himang Village. Okay? Growing up here, I noticed many adults in my town had short fingers, and they have a lot of scars in their faces. We asked why, and then they simply gave a joke and smiling, okay? And then one thing I remember is that they were sincere Christians with strong faith, and then a high optimism. And they told me and my friends in the church with the Bible, with enthusiasm. I wondered, how come they become such believers? And then I realized why when I read the Mark 1:40, okay? And that Jesus showed empathy and great love to the leper, and the people in Himang village must have felt it too. Okay. Recently, this is one of the letter my father left, and he passed away 30 years ago. I was organizing his letters and personal things, and I found this report written in about 50 years ago, and it is about the history of Himang village. Okay, everyone. I'm going to read. Okay, everyone wants to live well with their parents and brothers, but the state, society, relatives, and even parents who gave birth hated leprosy. Hansen patients. Hansen patients were not treated as free men on earth, but were not treated as much as dogs. Poor lepers who had an unwanted disease and were forced to beg here and there. On the riverside in Gyeongju, Gyeongsangbuk-do, several people were chased by their families and neighbors, and they formed a group, okay, just behind a bridge. Okay. At that time, a man named Deacon Jeong from Gyeongju Up Church began to preach the gospel to them. And soon after, with the help of Deacon Jeong, we built a church and formed a community called Seoul 1. Okay? But that's the start of my village, my hometown. I think the Deacon Jeong from Gyeongju Up Church was the one who practiced the love of Jesus, showing empathy to the Hansen patient. Was it because he felt gut-breaking pain like Jesus when he saw the poor lepers? And here is people who once had a Hansen disease, work hard around the church, and then they greatly developed the village. Then 10 years later, they built a big church out of bricks, the middle church, okay? And then, but also there was a lot of help from various group of good people. The last picture of a Japanese volunteer, Mr. Jibiki, and my father and other Korean youth volunteers at the time, and that's me. And then here, the Mr. Jibiki, he's Japanese. Think about this is the 3 minutes. And this is right after the Korean War, and then Korean people don't have some favorites towards the Japanese. But he just graduated Tokyo Agricultural University, and he was a member of the Peace Corps, and he volunteered to help Hansen disease people in my town, and then he moved to my town and they lived several years with us, and he taught how to raise livestock. And he devoted his entire life to help people in third world. Deacon Jeong and Mr. Jibiki were, I think, media who showed Jesus' empathy and love. In the Bible, Jesus wasn't the only one who felt empathy. Splankly Jumai. If you look at the chapter 3 of Gospel of Luke, there was a story of Good Samaritan. You know that. And here, the Samaritan took pity on him. Pity is sprankly the same word with compassion in Greek. He felt empathy, and with the empathy, he showed love on neighbors and Jesus, and the love of Jesus. My father got Hansen disease when he was 16. He went to a special hospital for Hansen disease called Yosu Eyang Hospital. My father received treatment there and also had education. And then he went to seminary and he left for Himang village later. While living in that Eyang hospital, my father wrote a journal every day. I found his journal. And then Eyang hospital in Yosu, they had a beautiful museum for Hansen disease and people. And then I decided to donate my father's journal. Okay, so I donated last year, and then I went there. Yosu Eyang. I went there, and then I learned something about the history of the Yosu Eyang, and then there was a and then it all started by a missionary, medical missionary, while the Forsyth in 1909. Dr. Forsyth there, and then he was on his way to Gwangju to cure his colleague, and then he found a Hansen patient who was bleeding and dying, and then he picked her up to his phone and walked to the Gwangju, and he visited Wilson, the missionary who was active there, and asked for help, and they couldn't find a suitable place to live, and he stayed in Killen, and then the Wilson organized and started treat the leper there. That's the start of Yosu Eyang Hospital. Okay. So certainly Dr. Forsyth was a Samaritan who showed love to our neighbors. Here, Good Samaritans. Dr. Forsyth helped the leprosy with the bleeding like a Samaritan in the Bible. Deacon Jeong of Gyeongju Church preached the gospel and helped the Hansen sick people living in the riverside. Mr. Jibiki dedicated to his youth to teaching and helping Hansen settlers. They are all good Samaritans who practiced Jesus' love. They all showed great empathy to people in need. They all media who delivered Jesus' messages through their deeds. They incarnate Jesus' words in this world, and they were messages, and they were also media. We Christians and young Christians should be media that conveys Jesus to life. We should communicate with empathy that Jesus showed us, and Dr. Forsyth, Deacon Jeong, and Mr. Jibiki showed us. So when we communicate with empathy with our social media, and the world will change little by little, we should be at the part of the wide bridge. And then the kingdom of heaven will be extended here on earth. Thank you for your listening.
I think that each of us is basically media, and how we act as Christians reflect on all of Christianity. I think it's a very important message. And I think the youth here are living in that reality and have been living in that reality since their birth. So what they have to say from their own experience will provide even more valuable in-person insight about what we can do as Christians in social network age. So without further ado, I will invite the first speaker onto the stage. She is hailing from Philippines, and her name is, I'm going to try to get this right, Laika Lakinadum. Please welcome to the stage.
Good day, everyone. My name is Laika and I am from the Philippines. Today, I'm going to share with you how we can further engage more youth to become the next generation leaders. Presentation, please. Okay, so game-changing advances has reshaped our way of living, especially in social media. For instance, it became a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing is that we meet new people and it lets us connect with our loved ones. However, it also becomes a breeding ground for disinformation, for toxicity, cancel culture, and many people heavily rely on numbers. So what are these numbers? These are likes, these are shares, these are followers. And instead of these, I believe that the youth should focus more on how they can change the world for the better. But let's be honest, we just cannot quit social media, and we cannot dictate others on what to post as well. So what can we do? Before I dig deeper, let me enlighten you with the current situation in the Philippines. In the Philippines, there are a total of 92.5 million active social media users, and 54% of them are what we call youth prosumers. What is a youth prosumer? Prosumer is what we call an individual who both consumes and produces, in this case, media content. So in the Philippines, there are so many youth prosumers. We call them content creators, we call them vloggers, and we appreciate their time, talent, and effort in doing all of these contents because they engage people. However, just my 2 cents. What if they produce contents beyond makeup tutorials, beyond unboxing videos, beyond funny and prank videos, but more of insights on advocacies, call to action, and become peace catalysts on the internet? Maximizing their platform for a greater purpose, because youth prosumers can become game changers if they choose to. So, back in the Philippines, we had an organization called Communication Foundation for Asia, or CFA. It is a non-government organization that focuses on developmental communication. So, CFA worked on the idea that the creative prowess and skills of the youth can become stepping stones to nation building, especially on evangelization, on peace and youth action, and that they can become game changers. So let me just share some of the projects we did with the youth so that they can become game changers. The first one is the Peace Camp series. Peace Camp aims at empowering Christians, Muslims, and indigenous youth to become game changers through interfaith dialogue in the name of peace. So what we did just last year is we created a space for them so that they can showcase their creativity, their talent. This house or space is called Kabataang Malikhain at Dalubhasa, or Young Creative Experts. It is a contest, and with this contest, they were able to produce their advocacy videos, music videos, write poetries, and compose their music, all in the name of peace. So what we did on our part is we collated all those entries and made it into a peace album. The peace album is called Batingaw, ang mga tinig ng kapayapaan, or Bells, the Voices of Peace. So what we did is we uploaded that album on Spotify, and Spotify became a tool to disseminate their peace messages on a global scale. The next one is Game Changers Digital Comics. So we have been, or CFA have been producing gospel comic magazines for over 50 years. And this project specifically caters for first-time voters. So we want them to know how important it is to vote and how they can discern and monitor their candidates wisely. And with this was first launched in 2015 as a printed version. But then in 2021, in preparation for the 2022 elections, we made it into a digitalized version. So we also made it interactive. We added ambient music, sound effects, dubbing, so that it's not only educational, but it is also entertaining. So maybe you might ask, no, these are just some of the things we did with the youth, but how were we able to sustain and continue engaging them with these projects? My simple answer is through synodality. Synodality is a process of journeying with one another, of collaboration, mentorship, openness. The idea is that when they enter the program, they don't just learn a skill or two, but we immerse with them, we share stories, we hear them, and we share or pass these principles, these values of evangelization, so that when they leave the program, they don't just learn a skill, but they let these principles help translate their messages into media. Because new media will always transform to what is trendy or what is popular. So instead of just learning how to use TikTok or Facebook, we teach the principles so that when another new media comes, we won't worry too much because they will know that we can adapt it to these changes. So basically what I'm saying is that synodality can become a foundation or a tool so that the youth can discover their purpose in life. I find this quite effective because this process is also what happened to me. Because the topic of the next generation leaders stemmed to how I was guided by my mentors, how they were able to upscale, empowered, and continued inspiring me so that I will be here with you today. And so that I will have that initiative to pass on that hat on to another youth who will eventually do the same. Because youth are so talented, and they must be led to a path where they can become game changers and eventually become leaders who can change the world for the better. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Yeah, that was an amazing presentation. It made us certainly think a lot. I remember this saying from a management book that says, if a person is given a metric, that person will try to maximize it. And right now, the only metric available to most of the youth is the number of likes and number of comments, positive comment they get. So by providing another framework, we can guide the youth to providing content that's better. If I understood that correctly, I think that was an amazing message. Thank you very much. Okay, we're gone with the next presentation prepared by Mr. Stanley Hector, coming from India. Please. I want to clap, but if I clap, then I bang on the microphone. So.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stanley Hector, and the topic of my presentation is evangelization through the practice of moral principles in professional undertakings. So while working as an independent filmmaker for almost 10 years now, I have had multiple experiences of working with different media professionals, some of which has been good and some of it has not been that good. And so in my presentation, I've tried to summarize some of the basic principles that I feel have added to my positive experience of working professionally with other individuals and have also helped me cultivating a long-term relationship with them. And so I have tried to keep these principles very basic so that every individual could follow them easily and apply them in their own professional lives. And I've also tried to find a reference of those principles in the Holy Bible to kind of find an origin of these principles. And I'll also be sharing my own experience of witnessing these principles while working as a media professional. To begin with, I would like to share a thought by Jeong, one of the most famous American motivational speakers, who said that Bible is as much practical as it is spiritual. And if we apply those scriptures into our own professional lives, we can reap the same benefits as we would in our spiritual journey. the first principle that I want to talk about is honesty. In November 2018, while I was working in the ad industry in Mumbai, I got the opportunity to direct my very first commercial ad. I was hired by one of the leading ad agencies in the country, and so the pressure of performing the best of my work was overwhelming. So during the shoot, while I was sitting at the monitor with an agency representative, and in the conversation, I casually mentioned to him that this is the first ad that I'm directing. And sometime later, my producer came to me and he told me that I shouldn't have mentioned that, as it gives out a very wrong impression. And that it's not good to be so realistic in this professional world. I was thinking that if I would have lied, maybe I would have gotten more projects from that agency, but then instead I was criticized for being honest. And much later, I kind of realized that I still had that sense of peace in my mind, realizing that I did not fall into the trap of doing something which was not aligned with my moral principles. The next principle is humility. And I also believe that this is one of the most important principles that not only helps you in connecting with others, but also opens the gate for learning from every individual that you meet. I was exposed to this principle during my Komla workshops with SIGNIS. The mentors that I had, LJ, Larry, Michael, and Maggie sir, laid an example of how humility can break down the barriers between student and teachers and help them connect on a more deeper level. With so much of experience and knowledge, they still became one among us students, which gave us the confidence and courage to do the best of our work without the fear of judgment, and also at the same time motivated us to practice this principle among our team members. The next principle on my list is hard work. During my online film direction course at a film school in Prague, I was asked to produce a short documentary by keeping one individual as the central subject of the film. The city that I come from, Indore, is known for its cleanliness. So I decided, why not take a cleanliness worker as the subject for my film? That's when I got the chance to meet Indra Adiwal Shyamlal, a cleanliness worker who is famous in my city for her hard work and resilience. So she reaches her designated cleaning spot hours before her official reporting time, and she begins the cleaning work there. With the time saved, she makes a colorful pattern on the street called Rangoli, which actually beautifies the place. She does this out of her own will and out of her own expenses. And so her effort has not only garnered praise from the local residents and the state authorities, but has also inspired so many workers around her to put the best into their work. And so while interviewing her, she shared that no work is too big or too small, and that no hard work ever goes in vain. One day or the other, you will definitely reap the benefits of the hard work that you put in today. The last, and also one of the most crucial principles of this list, is forgiveness. Sister Rani Maria had been working for the poor and marginalized community in a village located near my hometown. Her mission work was despised by some of the local landlords. And so on 25th of February 1995, she was brutally assaulted with a knife on a bus, which led to her sudden demise. The murderer was soon caught and was sentenced to life imprisonment. But then what happened next changed the life of not only the murderer, but also displayed the power of forgiveness for everyone to witness. On 25th of February 2003, the sister's family visited murderer in prison and forgave him for the cruelty that he committed. This act of forgiveness had such a profound effect on this guy that it eventually transformed his character from being a cold-hearted murderer to being a loving and caring human being. He was later released from the prison on good conduct and now looks after sister's family as his own family. And so, in conclusion, I believe that these principles should be considered as the foundational stones of any organization and should be cultivated through practice. And in doing so, these principles will not only act as a safety net during the time of crisis, but also ensure that the organization will move ahead in the right direction for its long-term success. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think media professionals need to impose upon themselves higher standard of ethics than probably any other profession. And as each person becomes media, as Professor Jeong said, I think that ethical standard needs to become a common practice among all the youth. And Mr. Stanley Hector has given us an insight as to how we can start doing that. Thank you very much. The next presentation by Ms. Emma Nekulumurwa from Namibia was supposed to happen here live, but she couldn't make it. She couldn't make the flight. So she graciously sent us her presentation file with her voice dubbed over. So she can't be with us here today, but we have our voice and our thoughts and our ideas. So here we go.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Emma Nekulumurwa, and I am the director of Angelus Printing Press, Namibia. I am 30 years old, born in Nairobi, Kenya, but reside in Namibia. Angelus Printing is the umbrella body of the Roman Catholic Bookshops, Angelus Printing Press, and the Department of Social Communications at the Namibia Catholic Bishops' Conference. I form part of the incredible SIGNIS International Group. In 2016, when I was fortunate enough to partake in the SIGNIS ComLab video production training, which took place in my country of birth, Nairobi, Kenya. Living in Namibia, a small country in the southern part of Africa and home to close to 2.5 million people, I have grown spiritually through actively participating in my parish, St. Mary's Cathedral. My parish, like many others in Africa, have only now formed part of the digital world as we gradually move towards providing platforms in the media to evangelize and reach a wider spectrum of people, especially the young people who are more engaged in the world of technology. A sad reality is, with each day that comes, more and more young people go astray, which is evident in their lack of participation in the church, a sad reality our church is facing. I am Emma Mulwa, and this is my story on how I use the media to evangelize. It all began in 2009, the year I got confirmed, with the desire to grow deeper in faith and belong to a group. I kept searching for groups I could join, which would nurture the desire within me. Unfortunately, at that point in time, there were no groups within my parish that were tailored for the youth. It was in that moment that the thought of starting one was planted. It brings me back to the quote by Gandhi: "You must be the change you want to see." Like every teenager, at that point, the fear of being judged and called all sorts of names, such as church girl, was there, but I persevered and got a few young people together. I must say, at this point in time, the use of media was fairly non-existent up until 2013, where I formed part of the organizing committee for Namibia's first ever National Youth Day, a weekend which brought a little over 1,000 young people together to equip them with the Word of God, as we are all called to be ambassadors of Christ. Occupying the role as the executive secretary, we started a Facebook page which we use to share information pertaining to the event, along with messages of hope and trust in the Lord, as again we are reminded that we are all called to be ambassadors of Christ. Fast forward to 2016, SIGNIS International African Cop Lab video production training in Nairobi, Kenya. SIGNIS exposed me to storytelling as we recorded the stories of young men who reside at the Don Bosco Rehabilitation Center with the hope to better their lives. An eye-opener for me to do the very same and using the media to spread messages of hope. My experience in Kenya birthed the Namibia Catholic Department of Social Communications in the NCBC Facebook page. As you can see, this group was created in 2016, and to date we have a total number of 35.2 thousand members. The climax of my journey thus far was 2020 March 3rd, the day the first case of COVID-19 was discovered in Namibia. With each day that passed, the cases kept increasing. This brought about severe anxiety and fear amongst residents. Before we knew it, the doors of the church were closed. As the communications department of the Namibia Catholic Bishops' Conference, the entire country relied on us to broadcast Holy Mass. At that point, many things came to mind. Are we capable of doing it? What if we fail? So much pressure. How are we going to do this? In that moment, we are reminded in Psalms 46, verse 10, "Be still and know that I am God." As the cases worsened, the need to do more increased. As the level of sadness, anxiety, and fear was in our midst, the death cases kept increasing, and my church community was no exception. We lost a great number of parishioners. With that said, prayer was our only hope, but the desire to pray on our own was not enough. There was a need for group prayers. After losing a close friend by COVID, I felt the need to start a national novena. Myself and the team began WhatsApp groups and revived those pre-existing groups where we encouraged daily video calls and Bible study along with prayers. We later expanded it to our Facebook and began a YouTube channel to cater to those who are not on Facebook. Our parish then developed a website on which parishioners could find various material for spiritual growth. This platform also allowed parishioners access to speak to a priest from wherever they find themselves on the continent. Now, I am sharing this with you to remind you once again that we are all ambassadors of Christ. We are all created in His image and likeness. Not one of us is considered more special than the other. We all have a gift to give in the form of service to the church. To evangelize is to spread the word of God. Spreading the word can be done in numerous ways other than that we receive every time we go to church. Wherever we are planted, we are to share the mercy of God in our actions and various professions. Wherever you find yourself, take it upon yourself to create an impact amongst your peers. Use your profession as a platform to evangelize. The world of technology has advanced, and it is up to us as young people to use it to its full potential. With all the negativity that comes with being on social media platforms, it is up to us to choose to be the beacons of hope by using this very platform to spread hope, love, care, and support, allowing God to use us as His soldiers in the world of media. Remember, God is counting on us as much as we are counting on Him. You can because of Him.
Okay, that was a presentation sent by Emma Nekulumurwa from Namibia. Okay, the next presentation will be by Mr. Orlando Sanchez Meneses. He's a journalist and content planner from Panama. So you see that all the continents are being represented. Here to tell us how to proclaim the gospel and practice peace through new media. Let's give him a big round of applause.
So, hi. First of all, I want to say something because I think my mom and my dad are looking to me. So, I want to say, hey mom and dad, your guy is an international speaker now. Officially. Okay, that's for breaking the ice. So, this is my proposal for you. This sounds like speed, right? If you look, this is SPD, but I can name it speed. And I will explain to you why. But first of all, I want you to take out your phones, please. Take out your phones. Everyone here have a phone, a cellular phone, and also have social media, whatever you prefer to. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you want. In your short stories, in your fast story, please take a selfie and say hi. And put a hashtag like IYF, International Youth Forum. So when you do that, any social media takes that information. So please take your picture. Take your picture. No, you're not going to be safe. Take your picture. You're very beautiful today. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Post it in your favorite social media. So now, what is going to happen in here is that this is going to happen now. Numbers are moving now on because every single search that you do, every single content that you look in the social media, in the website, it's connecting from one person to another person, from one device to another device, and it's making some data. Okay? Data that big brands takes to make content that convince you that you have some necessities that they will present to you. And they will present as the best one, as do you need it for all your life? You need some shoes, white shoes, but you will never love that white shoes because you don't like it. You only want some sneakers like this to walk away for a long distances. But they will show you that you will need that. And in that point, we are going to talk about marketing. And the American Marketing Association says that marketing is the activity, that set of institutions and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings, and be aware of this, offerings that have value for customers, clients, but we are going to delete that phrase, that word, clients, because we are talking about sailing and something like that, partners, and society at large. And why we are going to delete that word about clients? Because we are talking about Catholic communication. And if we are talking about Catholic communications, we have no clients. We have customers, yes, because we have some services. We have partners, and also we have a large society that we have to gather with, to talk with, to serve, to be like partners. And talking about that, please, from now on, do not be afraid to talk about marketing and Catholic communication, because it's about presenting ideas. And this is like the image that we have when we are talking about social media. People is like this. There are many spotlights, there are many sparklers. The brands are talking too much. We are in the era of over-information. And from this premise, where are we? Where is the material that we are preparing for our contents, for our Catholic content? What are we doing with that content? We are here, we are all content creators. And what are we doing with that content? We are promoting well, We know where is our people. We know who are going to talk about that information. And here is what I was talking at the beginning. This is my proposal. Speed methodology. A strategic planning for peace practices in digital world. A strategic planning for peace practices in the digital world. And what does that mean? Thinking out of the box. And please, with this, I invite you to make some steps before you are planning your content or whatever project that you have inside or outside the church, but with good sense. We have to stop and think every project in communication key. Because if we as a church do not communicate, we are like avoiding a big world where people is. And this is something. I don't know if here in Asia or in Korea happens that all the communities deliver in the middle, have the church in the middle and the communities deliver and grow up since the parish or the Catholic institution. I don't know if that happened here, but almost in Latin America and Europe, that happens. The church was first, the first edification, and then the communities start to grow up beside that. So now on, communities are not growing in that way. We have to go to the social media. People is not growing from that institution. People is growing from social media, and it's a big world where I think church, our Catholic Church, needs to be more effective. So some fast numbers. These numbers represent the what we are avoiding sometimes when we are planning our contents. There are many people looking for God things in the social media. There are people that we have to win for our faith, for our the way of God, the way of love. And sometimes we think that there is no people looking for us. There are many people looking for us, but what happens is that we don't have a very good plan to connect with them. And my proposal for this is to practice a marketing funnel, a digital marketing funnel. But you know what? Catholic Church is expert. Is an expert doing this in the landscape. But we are not experts doing it on the digital world because many other organizations are winning us. And they are gathering so many people to their social media, to their contents, to their ideas. And we are getting in the backside. So it is easy. Attract to create awareness, inform to create consideration so that people can come to us, to the love of God. Convert to create some conversion, to bring people, to confirm people is here. And also engage to create loyalty, and not loyalty to us, loyalty to God. This is a very good quote that I find in internet from a World Communication Day from Pope Benedict XVI that says, to proclaim the gospel through the new media means not only to insert expressly religious content into different media platforms, but also to witness consistently in one's own digital profile and in the way one communicates choices, preferences, and judgments that are fully consistent with the gospel, even when it is not spoken of specifically. So digital content must not be only about praying the rosary, masses. It must be something more, something that could connect with the people that do not believe in the Catholic Church so that we can connect with them. There is a very huge continent that we are missing. And what happens in the digital media is that people do not believe in the Catholic institution, as we see in the first presentation that we have before of us. So, what I'm presenting to you now is a project where I participate that is named La Red. Some years ago, I participated in this project, and we create some content different from what our audiences in Panama were expected to look for, because they were expecting to look for some devotional things only. and we create something very different. And maybe you don't deserve that this kind of content was made for people that do not have any cent, no cent to produce it. Just only the belief that we are doing good things and transcendental in things. So, the speed methodology is inviting you to stop for a while so you can plan and think on digital. It's a very different context from land context. If we have this, we can think, design, create, plan, be creative, bring art. And why not think on our Catholic art being like NFTs for some future? If we are talking about right now about the metaverse. I forgot the word. I forgot the word. That we are right now. And if we are right now in the metaverse, why not we can create some NFTs to sell it, and then we create some conscience about our Catholic faith and the richness that it has. I'm Orlando from Panama. Thank you for your time.
Incorporating tools of marketing that's usually being used to sell things to spread the good message, I think was a fascinating idea. Thank you very much. Give a big round of applause again. Since we are talking about the next generation connectivity, I think we should experiment a little bit with next generation connectivity instead of just talking about it. So we have people who are not here, who are listening to our exchange of ideas remotely on Zoom, that will be chiming in with their own ideas just now. So we have two people that will join us on Zoom and share with us their ideas. The first person is Martha Mosha. She's from Namibia. And she is Professor of Information and Communication Studies at University of Namibia. And she'll be presenting us with her ideas and her take on our theme today. Hello.
Hi, good day, everyone.
Good day. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good day again, and thank you so much for this opportunity to present at this conference. My name is Martha Mosha, as already indicated, and I'm actually from Tanzania but live in Namibia. And I'm not yet a professor, but I hope to get there someday. Thanks for that addition to my accolades. Today I'll be presenting on youth overcoming fake news. In this digital era, fake news is a big issue, and it actually comes up with a lot of other ramifications. So if we can just please, next slide. Thank you. I'm also pulling out from a quote from Pope Francis from another World Communications Day, where he shared that the ability to spread such fake news often relies on a manipulative use of the social networks and the way they function. And in so doing, then, in today's presentation, I will be departing from there and assisting with tips on how to overcome this manipulative use. Next slide, please. Right. So the first and most important tip of overcoming fake news will be to become digitally literate and aware. The whole idea of think before you share is a big issue. Every time when you get a post, when you're on social media and you want to interact, engage with different content, think first on who sent the information, like who shared this information before you got to it. Most of the times, by just overcoming that one issue of who is the source, you've actually taken a very huge step, because some people already are known to pass information that is biased or fake in one way or another. The other thing is for you to actually look in and find out who's the author before you actually repost or share to others. Just make sure that you find out who's the author of this item that you're actually sharing on social media. By doing a quick check in terms of who published the story, most of the times with internet sources, there is a link, then you can actually check for yourself before you can actually engage in sharing. And that offers you an opportunity to fact check, as it may be. Another one that is very easy on this part of the world is just to check accuracies in terms of how the story is written, easily with spell checks and issues of how dates are written, the formats and other such. You can easily pick up that this is actually fake news. And the last but not least thing is for you to just check out if it's fair and objective. Before you post, you want to know, am I sharing something that is actually fair and objective, or am I being a bias in one way or another? If you can't do all of the above, because I know the youth are very busy these days, the best thing is to wait before posting. Therefore, you've got this information that somebody else has shared to you. You then take time before posting to check if the rest of the world are talking about this information, especially if it's something as shocking as the Pope being dead. You want to be able to find out if CNN is first reporting it before you start sharing such news, and that will actually help you overcome the quick bias that comes at first. Next presentation, please. Thank you. And the last tips that are there is in today's world, the platforms are already set up pretty much to help you. So the case of Facebook with their disputable story issue that they have, so you can actually have a post already written that is disputed, so you already want to put in a caution before you actually share that. WhatsApp has also put in a mechanism to let you know that a story has been posted a lot of times, so you cannot not even post to so many people. That lets you know there's an issue here before you become a co-producer of that story, as it may be. There is also free internet tools that help you to debunk fake news. So if you want to take a step further, you can actually use such. An easy search tool is Google Images, for example, that allows you to quickly search an image before you can actually engage in reposting it. You just check that if this image is actually been shared before, where is it coming from, and other such that will easily help you overcome such. I've been speaking of verifying ways, but in this case, verifying the news in terms of just asking an elder. I always tell my students, just ask somebody who's got some authority, a church elder, that would help you to just confirm the story before you actually share it out. And last but not least, then you can add a disclaimer, and the usual shared as posted allows you to be able to say, I actually shared this as is, and therefore do not take any responsibility if you actually take it as true. Then that way people will not really fully just rely on your post, but rather make sure that they actually confirm for themselves. The last but not least tip that I would actually put out there, which is something I tell my students all the time, is to expand your network. What we call confuse the algorithm. In so many times, so many cases, we stick in the same networks, therefore we're fed the same narrative. So if you actually branch out of that network, will expand your network and therefore be given other sides of the story, and therefore that would quickly also help you with fact-checking information. But in my presentation, by sharing that everyone who presented before me had very good issues, very key information on how you can also overcome this. And I would actually ask you all to keep that in mind, especially the ones shared, the principles shared by Stanley. They were really, really key in terms of self-discipline and self-checking before you actually post anything. Next slide. As I finish, I'd like to keep up and share that we're all responsible. So please make sure that you remain as well presented, as well represented as possible. Thank you very much.
We'll have another Zoom presentation. The next presenter has preferred to speak in French, so if you don't speak French, please use the translator that's been made available to you so you can get instantaneous translation. La prochaine présentation nous est proposée par le Père Ansem qui nous rejoint de Rome. Il est
So our next presentation will be delivered by Talemi, our priest father from Kalenge Kirigu of Congo. Yes. Hello, nice to see you. Thank you very much. I am Ansem Paludi, and I'm from the Diocese of Kalemi Kilongo in Congo. Right now, I am currently studying in Rome at La Cuche University. So I am a student right now. I'm studying the research and the studies of society at the same time, and I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude for allowing me to speak at this forum. And another thing I would like to express my gratitude for is that I was proposed to give this presentation through the fathers here in Italy, and I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude for their proposal so that I can speak today. So what I'd like to present to you today is actually more of a proposal related to the theme and the subject that is being dealt with at the International Youth Forum about how to enhance communication in the digital new media era. For enhanced communication, I think the youth need to be aware of three things in particular. First, the identity of the believers. Second, engagement. And third is the mission that we must take on as the baptized followers of Jesus. For the Day of Social Communication in 2013, we received a message from Pope Francis, and that message was about truth and communication. And also there was some reference to SNS within his message. And in the digital era, I believe that this importance has become even more highlighted. Pope Francis is continuing to stress the same key messages even now. Truthful communication, when that happens, then genuine relationships are formed. And when there are potentials inside us, we would be able to act out on those potential, thanks to genuine relations. If instead of exchanging simple information or data, we amongst ourselves have to create this genuine communication. And when we are involved in communication, we must also be truthful to our own identities. I must know myself first and foremost. I must acknowledge myself, and then I would be able to communicate in a genuine and true manner. And that is the only way that we would be able to communicate the truth. Around the world, there is an abundance of communication that is going on. So in order to be not swept up in the falseness. We have to be able to know ourselves, acknowledge ourselves, and be true to ourselves in our communication. And we must understand what mission is given to us as believers and as Catholic communicators. The digital world, it is not a parallel world. It is the world that we are living in. And therefore, as believers and members of the Catholic Church, the environment has actually a lot of benefits. As youth communicators, in this digital age, there's a lot that you can do, especially as baptized believers. There are also some things that are our mission and roles. We should not forget that. For the development of humanity, the fact that we can actually use these digital tools, that's what I want to emphasize. As people, as a human being, we should respect the dignity that everyone is born with. And in order to do that, there are some basic principles that we should be always reminded of for ourselves as well as for the other members of the church. If we fulfill our roles, and I believe that we'll be able to, and as communicators of the gospel, there are many things that we can provide assistance and support to. From the church's perspective, I think it is the same as well. But our activities, in a consistent manner, we must be able to present all of our activities and be a part of the society in a consistent manner. I think these are very basic principles, regardless of whether we are talking about the physical world or the digital world. So everything that I have mentioned to you are actually related to each other. In the digital world, the identity as Catholics that we share and identifying the things that we should be involved in, and in order to enhance this recognition of the value of human beings, is something that we should be involved in. Thank you.
Okay, so we just experienced firsthand how people around the world can share their ideas real time using the new technology, and there was a little, the technology isn't perfect yet, so there was a little delay, as you saw, and there was a little audio problem here and there, but you'll probably get to a point where we can really, become a community of the world. So let's get back to our in-person presentation. Next, the following presentation is by Ms. Maria Victoria Laterza. She's a media and communication expert, originally from Venezuela, but now living in Italy. Let's welcome with an applause.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us today, both in person and virtually. Can you hear me? Okay, but can you really listen to me? I want to talk to you about why I believe that listening is the key to fostering humanity, empathy, and peace. Everything begins with a story. We're constantly telling each other stories about the things that we live, we experience, we witness, and we achieve. But what are stories worth if there's no one around to listen? I personally believe that many of today's global problems are based on the fact that we're not listening to each other. Even when the earth is crying for help, even when the migrants are desperate crossing the Mediterranean, when women are battling for their rights, we simply don't listen. And this carries along many consequences, may they be political, social, and even personal. But I want to believe that listening with the ear of the heart can help us solve these issues. We are invited by Pope Francis to reflect on this topic in World Communication and on his message for the World Communications Day, where he invited us to listen with the ear of the heart, and he also reminded us that we have actually kind of lost our ability to listen because we are constantly bombarded with way too much information. This wave of too much information has led us to listening to a variety of voices, but at the same time, we have become more lonely. We have become more self-centered. And we are very vulnerable to fake news, to made-up stories, and we do not even realize it. Nevertheless, the opportunity to speak up is in our hands, and this has been seized by many who use their voices to empower others, to spark change, to promote compassion. But I know that this doesn't necessarily come easily. Listening with the ear of the heart can be challenging because to do this, it means that I need to put myself in a space where I have to open my mind and open my heart to what others have to say, to listen to their fears, their feelings, what they worry about. And this doesn't come easy because that means that I need to change the way that I see the world. I need to be open to have my mind changed by somebody else. And I understand that that can be challenging. I have to be able to receive what the other person wants to tell me. And this is the reason why in 2018, with all of this in mind, sorry. Okay. Openness to receive one another, and I like to think that if we opened our hearts and we listen to other people, especially those who are in positions of power, we could listen to the fearful cries of those suffering from evil regimes like my Venezuela, for those who are struggling and hungry in Burundi, or to the whispers of those whose land is disappearing underwater in the Pacific, then our world might change. With all of this in mind, in 2018, I launched my radio show, Melting Spot. I actually started my radio journey when I was really young, but I didn't get back to the microphone until 2018, when Melting Spot came on air. It is currently off the air, but this is an infotainment show dedicated to interviewing young foreigners from around the world and to listen to their stories. How has the integration process been like? How has your life been changed by the fact that you moved to a different country? My goal with this show was to listen to the stories of all these people who are abysmally different from me, who speak different languages, who have lived things and experienced worlds that I can't even imagine. So for 2 years, I actually got the chance to talk to these people. Every single week, I met someone different, and I traveled with my ears to a different world. I learned about why things are the way they are in different countries. I learned how similar Egypt and Venezuela can be, how difficult it can be for Chinese to integrate in Italy, and how people from Azerbaijan drink their tea with marmalade. I don't know if I would have ever discovered any of these things if it wasn't for this show. And what I tried to do with this was to give them a chance to speak up, to listen to their stories, to know about how yet challenging the process of moving to another country can be. It's also very fruitful. They were all so grateful to be in Italy for the new opportunities and for the great food. So every show we will talk about not only their lives and their experiences, but also about local and global issues. This way, we could understand what was going on in a different country at the moment, a young person's point of view, and then reflect on how that same situation was lived in Italy. So we will talk about cultural differences. We will talk about what we could learn from each other, or any news, any new laws or elections. And we will also talk about social movements, about youth empowerment, and what we could do together. With all of this, I would like to ask you to reflect on the value of listening in today's hyper-connected world, which is what we have been talking about. these days. I know that it can be difficult because we simply have way too much information coming our way, but it is opportunities like this, opportunities like Melting Spot, opportunities like standing on this stage today that make us see the value of listening to each other. By listening to each other, we grow together, we build stronger relationship, we rise as a society. And I hope, and we can all hope, that this message is actually being listened beyond these walls by people who want to share this message and spread it even further away. I want to invite you to listen with the ear of your heart. I want you to embark in a journey with yourself towards a path of empathy, where you listen to those that surround you, where you use your power as a communicator to make stories travel even further away. And I also would like to remind you that it's only by opening our hearts and our minds that we can create a better, more inclusive and comprehensive world, because it is only together that we can share this life. Thank you.
When we think about the responsibility of the media, we often think about crafting a message and then sending it to somebody who will receive the message. But her presentation made me think of things in a different way, where creating together actually might be the best way to break down the barrier. When you're in the creative process together, when you share your ideas before the message is finally crafted and being sent out into the world, that's when maybe the best kind of human exchange can happen. Thank you very much. Okay, so next presentation is about a case of young people from 11 different Latin American countries who studied a new evangelization program on digital media, and then everything had to stop because of COVID-19. So it's a story that comes straight from the ground. Let's give a big round of applause to Ms. Jessica Maia from Brazil.
So hello everyone, it's a great pleasure to be here with you. When the world found itself prevent from proceeding with the dynamics of going and seeing in the COVID-19 pandemic, it was necessary to readapt and discover new ways and means to announce the gospel. The digital continent was a possible place of meeting and communion. More than that, Christians understood that even in the digital world, it was possible to deepen the experience with God. Young people who have been listening for a long time to the church's appeal not to be intimidated and to take a leading role in evangelization is imbuing a culture of peace and encounter, joining the wisdom of elders and start to give new answers in this environment. Among so many projects that were born in this spirit, today I want to present and talk about Radio Leo, a community and citizen web radio that brought together hundreds of young people from Latin America and Caribbean. Radio Leo is a radio station formed by young people from Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Cuba, Ecuador, Mexico, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Dominican Republic, and Venezuela. The name chosen is an answer to the appeal of Pope Francis during the World Youth Day in Rio de Janeiro in 2013, in which he asked that young people could hacer lío, that means making noise. And what does that mean? It is about going out of oneself to meet to other one. More than that, fighting to serious exclusions, that of the young and the elderly. The Pope highlighted the importance of fighting for the rights of the young and the elderly, allowing them to be heard and thus avoid the extreme of exclusion to which they are often subject. To follow the productions that are part of Radio Leo, just access double net. The programs are made available daily with some reruns. In addition, it is possible to listen to the productions through streaming channels such as Spotify. Behind the scenes of these productions, there are young communicators representing the 11 countries that make up Radio Liu, who participated in the training program in the production for a community and citizen radio, La Chispa de la Palabra, the Spark of the Word, organized with the support of the Latin American Association of Radiophonic Education, ALER, and the Center for Higher Communication Studies for Latin America, CIESPAL. Guided by the values of the Church social doctrine, solidarity, justice, and freedom, young people give voice to the most different agendas, from matters of vocational discernment, human dignity, as well as social guidelines that denounce and alert to specific realities of each country. In this way, they collaborate with the construction of bridges for a culture of peace, giving voice and space to those who are often not heard. Faced with so many shared experiences in this space, what would be the richest and most necessary experience to be announced in this environment other than that of those who had a personal encounter with the Rise One? The encounter with Christ The encounter with Christ makes each of us heroes of the good news. There is no way to hold back. The desire burns in every heart to run, to announce, and to make it reach everyone. The announcement that Christ lives and wants us alive. And he wants to relate, be a friend, close, and intimate with each one. There are still many things to be understood and clarified about the relationships in the digital environment. However, one thing is clear. These relationships are real, and when combined with the experience that are lived outside the environment, they acquire a new potential. In July, some young people who make up Radio Liu had the opportunity to meet in person for the first time during the 6th Latin American Communicating Congress of SIGNIS, CONLAC. A meeting that not only strengthened the communion between them, but also made possible new ways of fulfilling the mission of Hacer Liu. In addition to contributing to the construction of a culture of peace and encounter, Radio Liu seeks to be a model to animate and encourage young people from other countries to make noise, also based on their realities. With proper support, initiatives like this can be sparked around the world. Young people from Asia, Africa, Europe, the time has come to Hacer Liu. May every young person remember the words of Pope Francis when he said, "You are the now of God." There is a church and humanity that eagerly awaited the manifestation of each one of us, capable of contributing to significant changes in our society with a view to the dignity of the human person and the common good. Thank you very much.
That was very interesting. When we think about new media that's changing the world, we think about just new formats like YouTube videos or Instagram posts or short form formats like TikTok. But in the last two presentations, I was surprised to learn about the interest in radio format, audio format that the new generation is having. So that was very edifying. Thank you very much. Big round of applause. Okay, so we are at our last presentation with the, let's say, homegrown team. This is a team from Korea. There are two people presenting together as a team this time. Two young people, Ms. Jang Ji-hye and Mr. Kim Sang-soo, will present how to engage in social activities through new media. Let's welcome them onto the stage.
Hi everyone, we are Sogang University students Jang Ji-hye,
김상수.
the speakers of Korea.
Although we are not actually working in the media field, we are majoring in media. So we are going to talk about media use and utilization at personal level. Through this, we will suggest how youth can discover and achieve the way to make world peaceful in the digital world.
Then our presentation starts now. When I was a child, I grew up spending lots of time in the church. After I became an adult, I participated in National Youth Day and World Youth Day. It was a chance to meet Catholic young people from various countries. It was very impressive that we all have the same belief, although each person has different culture and background. After this, I installed WhatsApp and made Instagram account because I want to keep in touch with my friends. Now I still with the friends I met at Youth Day and Homestay family through SNS. We often talk about how each other is doing and celebrate a holiday or happy things like graduation and birthdays. It is also a great thing not only to know such events, but also to know how they are living in everyday life. I'm far away from my friends. The media allowed me to maintain how they are living every day. In short, young people from different countries communicate through the media by being connected to the Catholic ring. This is my small level of media use. Like this, there was always God at the center of me, and it was natural to go to church and hang out there. However, due to COVID-19, church has become an inaccessible place for the first time in the history of the Catholic Church in Korea. As face-to-face mass became difficult, its diocese and organization began to conduct online mass and held one face-to-face meeting. Catholic content are also increased and delivered to us through various platforms. Among them, I would like to introduce some cases.
So we visit an institution that produces media and listen to their story. The places we visited are Korea Catholic Broadcasting, which is CPBC, and Daughters of St. Paul's Convent, where sisters convey the gospel through books, album publishing, YouTube, or other social media. The Catholic Mass through TV by CPBC was an essential mass tool in non-face-to-face era. They also quenched the thirst of those who could not go to the physical cathedral by organizing additional religious programs such as liturgy programs. In addition, the head of the convent division of CPBC, Iromullo, who we met, was interested in peace in an era of hatred, and he was considering how to spread peace so that people can get happiness through programs and media.
When we visit Daughters of St. Paul, we met the sisters of the contents team. They run YouTube with the mission of going anywhere where people gathered and delivering good news. Rather than trying to content just peace, they are producing media to allow content users to meet Jesus through it. In this way, Korean Catholic widely continued religious life by using media. In my case, at first, I was not used to doing religious activities through new technologies. Also, the words flowing out of the screen felt empty. The worry I feel as a Catholic youth is that we are getting far from Jesus these days. This is even more so after this period of physical space of church due to coronavirus. The sister I met, the Daughters of St. Paul, said, for young generation, the media is everything in their lives because there's fun and they can get something from it, and challenging it, they can influenced by it. However, on the contrary, when I was asked myself, Is religion all about life for young generation? I don't think so. Therefore, in the church, it is necessary to think about how young people can get close to the God through media. And finally, I think what we really shouldn't forget is not to be lost God. Also remember, God's Spirit always living in the hearts of believers. The new media will emerge emerges in the future may change our daily and religious lives. Effective use of media enable to us discover peace in the digital world.
So while Jeong previously talked about community life through media use, I'd like to talk about media participation. That is, how to spread peace while creating media content. The theme of my presentation is, let us spread peace by engaging beyond media use. Before starting my question, I want to ask one question, you guys. So what do you think is the biggest difference between current media and past media? My opinion is production. Compared to the past, the latest new media is easy to produce content. Instagram feed, Twitter comment, YouTube Reels are new media contents. I think definitely you guys ever made one of these before, and you know how easy it is to make. So I think that if you only use the media, you will not be able to utilize the full potential of the media. Beyond use of media, it's time to produce content. I am one of the people who make media content actively. Although my activities are not religious, I'd like to share my feelings through the experience of content production and present the idea-spreading way of making world peaceful that I think. I'm producing two contents, the first of which is podcast content, Docent in Your Room. So Docent in Your Room is a program that talks about introduction and reviews of art exhibitions with art curator. So this is all about art. But before this program, I didn't know art at all. However, as I often met curator having art talk, a new interest in art has been created, and I put a lot of time and effort into art. So these are the photos of Instagram and appreciating moment photos. I note one fact here. New encounters open up new opportunities. In digital world, there are countless chances to meet other people. So, using media actively will bring more people together and create more opportunities and networks to work together. And then, they share their words through media, which will lead to attract more people. I'm sure that good activities continue as young people gather and work, and as a result, having a good influence on the world will be the driving force for the peace in the digital era. My other content is YouTube content, Everyone's Dinner. Everyone's Dinner is a program that invites guests to have dinner together and share happy memories, daily worries, and trivial stories in a comfortable atmosphere here. Through this program, I want to talk and convey the value of comfort and triviality in this world, where something violent and suggestive is attracting attention. I wanted to have a positive effect. I wanted to have a positive effect on many people by spreading the good values through the media. While interviewing a member of Daughters of St. Paul Convent, I could learn the attitude in media production, which is, when it's delivered to someone, I believe that he or she can have peace in his or her own way. We can try to make others closer to the Jesus and peace through the media, and we can spread positive values that we think of directly as well. The fact that we can directly spread our values is a big difference from media use. Now it is an era in which anyone can influence people by expressing their values through the new media. For me, new media era is same word with an era when anyone can and should be a producer. Therefore, I think that not only the religious community, but also individual believers should actively work on media production. If so, everyone can contribute to peace by spreading Jesus' teachings, such as philanthropy and love in various ways in the digital world. So let's participate in media to make world peaceful. Thank you.
The message I got from that was that we can turn trivial, peaceful things into media and not just things that are suggestive or momentarily attractive. And that is true. I think when we turn on TV or go on YouTube feed, generally we see what's wrong with the world, or when people are insulting each other or they're fighting on the street. 99% of things that we see on media feed focuses on 1 or 2% of bad things that happen in the world, and we sometimes forget how warm and loving the humanity is. So I think that was a very important message. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we'll go for the break. But before we go for the break, I have a few announcements. Before I arrived, there was a sister, nun from Myanmar, that came up to speak. And for reasons that you may know, please do not keep or share that photo. Please delete the photo, please. It might, to respect our privacy and to protect, please delete that photo from your phone. Second is that we're supposed to have a question and answer session here live, but we are running out of time. We ran over time actually, so we cannot have a live question and answer session, but there is a YouTube live feed that's going on. So if you want to interact with the speakers, you want to comment, you want to ask them questions, challenge them, or just give them a pat on the back and tell them that they did a good job, you can engage with them on on the YouTube live feed, and they will probably comment on your comment. That's how things work these days, right? And we have participation points like we're in college class, right? So we'll raffle some of the people who commented. We'll select a few comments, and then people who put up good comments will be distributing rosaries that were blessed by the Pope himself. So that's a big gift. So there you go. There's your motivation. So we'll have a 10-minute coffee break. So that is 33 to 35, everybody. Okay, it'll be 4:33 to 35. That's when we'll be starting our next second section. So be quick, go for a coffee, go to the bathroom, take a break, and I'll see you guys in 10 minutes. Thank you very much. Okay, we are waiting for those few people who are still needing a little time to find their seat. We'll be starting any time now, so if you guys want to catch the second part of the program, International Youth Forum, please come into the auditorium and take your seat. Okay, let's get started. Yeah. 시작할까요? I guess we're gonna wait another 30 seconds. Okay, let's begin the second part of our International Youth Forum of the SIGNIS World Congress 2022. The second part the topic is how to benchmark K-pop for evangelization. K-pop is, as you well know, is a form of music and dance that has taken the world by storm, and it was noted by the experts, especially for its savvy use of social media. So how can we use the dynamic that we've observed in the K-pop phenomenon and harness that force to spread the word of gospel and the word of good and peace? Then this presentation is composed of two parts. The first part, the academic expert from Sogang University will give us some framework on how to understand this phenomenon. And the second part will consist of a video presentation, actually a documentary on which Sogang University faculty and students spent an entire year preparing that tries to delve into the phenomenon of K-pop and its relevance to faith. So without further ado, we will welcome onto the stage team leader and researcher Ijina of Sogang University team. Please.
Hello, we are the Hallyu research team from Sogang University. My name is Gina Lee, and here is our team leader, Professor Yongjin Won. So we conducted a study on Hallyu and social media and the church. Hallyu means the Korean wave, which means the popularity of Korean media contents in a global scale. Our team paid attention to the global success of Hallyu and especially focused on social media and how it contributed to Hallyu's success. We also wanted to explore the deeper relationship between the Korean wave and social media and tried to interpret some important lessons that the church could learn from this relationship. In other words, we tried to figure out how the church could communicate with younger generations based on our research. To answer this, we formed 3 teams. We first had a survey team, then a documentary team, and then the church team. These 3 teams were formed to conduct research individually and as a team together. To answer this, the survey team conducted a survey on 308 foreign students studying in Korea. In this quantitative research, we investigated and analyzed the role of social media in interpreting the popularity of the Korean wave. The documentary team produced a short documentary film which captured the way international students studying in Korea use social media to enjoy the Korean wave. The documentary team had conducted qualitative research in the form of in-depth interviews. Finally, the church team will note the lessons that the church could learn based on our research. So first, we will listen to the survey team's results for 15 minutes, and then we will watch the documentary team's short film for 20 minutes. After that, we will listen to the church team's presentation for about 7 minutes. So, thank you for this, and I will hand the mic over to our survey team, Professor Harim Lee.
Good afternoon. My name is Harim Lee, and I will be presenting on the survey research part of our team's presentation. I am a proud graduate of Sogang University and currently an associate professor in media and communication at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies here in Seoul. During my time as a professor and researcher, I have had the opportunity to work with many undergraduate and graduate students, both domestic and international, with whom I have explored various issues regarding social media and culture. This is my first time to speak as an academic in the church setting, so I am very grateful and honored to have been given this opportunity to share our work as well as my professional experience with you today. Today, I wish to discuss some findings from our team study that mainly examined audiences' relationship with the Korean wave and social media. To do this, I will start by giving you a quick review of the K-wave phenomenon. Of course, I believe that everyone here is familiar with the term Korean wave, which is a direct translation of the Korean word Hallyu. This Hallyu refers to the global popularity of a wide range of Korean entertainment and culture. Currently, Hallyu encompasses various forms of Korean pop culture, most notably pop music, or better known as K-pop, along with TV drama series and movies. The K-boy band BTS, the Netflix drama series Squid Game, and director Bong Joon-ho's film Parasite are key examples of the worldwide popularity of Korean music and audiovisual content. Beyond these examples, other cultural forms, such as Korean cuisine, cosmetics, fashion, and games, have secured substantial positions within the Hallyu. This wide variety of Korean culture has penetrated many parts of the globe, including East and Southeast Asia, Europe, and the Americas. Based on a survey conducted by the Korean Foundation for International Cultural Exchange, Hallyu users across 18 countries reported that the popularity of K-content in their home countries continues to grow every year in every cultural category. And also for each cultural category, the majority of Hallyu users exhibited high levels of favorability toward Korean cultural content, reporting that they like, as opposed to dislike, K-content. So, what is the impact of such global popularity and favorability? Korea experiences the impact of Hallyu in many aspects, including economic, social, and political. For example, in the year 2020, the production inducement effects due to Hallyu were approximated to be at 2.2 billion Korean won, which amounts to about 16.8 billion US dollars. And over 136,000 jobs were created due to the growth in the domestic culture industry. In terms of social or political influences, celebrities at the center of Hallyu have secured symbolic positions to deliver important social messages with global credibility and clout. For example, BTS has spoken at the UN General Assembly and at the White House addressing issues of youth empowerment and anti-Asian racism. So Korea as a nation has experienced many significant, meaningful consequences owing to the global embracement of Hallyu. Of course, it is difficult to deny the influence of global and corporate support in the creation and continuous expansion of Hallyu. Nonetheless, the Hallyu phenomenon is highly, if not mostly, dependent upon the overseas fans and their cultural practices involving K content. Furthermore, social media has also been a major driving force in the global diffusion of Hallyu. And by social media, I'm referring to online sites that facilitate communication, content sharing, and community building, such as sites such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even open video streaming sites such as YouTube. These are the most central examples of social media. The social media has most certainly become the primary means of communication, especially among youth and young adults, and notably among fans of Hallyu. Therefore, in the study we wish to share with you today, we provide a brief empirical depiction of this overall phenomenon. It is our hope that our study findings can provide some directions for the Church's efforts to incorporate media, especially social media, for youth ministry. So the study we bring to you today is a survey study that examined international audiences' relationships with Hallyu content and the role of social media in this dynamic. More specifically, we wanted to understand how use and perceptions of Hallyu content are related to audiences' perceptions of, and adjustment to Korea. And more importantly, we wanted to learn what roles social media play in the creation of Hallyu fandom and individuals' perceptions regarding Korea. To collect data for this survey, we recruited international students residing in the country. We focused on this particular group because the motivation for many of these students to study in Korea is closely tied to their participation in and affection for Hallyu. So last month, we posted a questionnaire online and was able to collect data from 308 international students. The majority of respondents were in their 20s, more females than males participated, and about more than half of our respondents participated from Asian regions. In terms of Hallyu content, our survey focused on the key genres, so K-movies, drama, and music, and the majority of our respondents were found to be frequent users of the three types of content. Our study's measurement of social media focused on the networking-based forms of social media. In other words, those forms of social media that are also called social network sites, which primarily involve communication with friendship networks such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Our respondents spent an average of 1 to 2 hours daily on this social media. And although many countries have their own regional social media, and although popularity of a particular social medium tends to differ by country, we found that our participants' social media use overwhelmingly centered around Instagram, which was followed by Facebook, but by a very large margin. Okay, so now I will move on into the main findings of our survey, looking at each research question one by one. And regarding the first question, a correlation analysis found that frequency of K-movie, drama, and music use all were positively associated with favorable perceptions toward Korea. More specifically, those who more frequently used Hallyu content tended to show more favorable attitudes regarding Korea's national brand. And the more frequently one used Hallyu content, the more likely they were to report that they had experienced positive changes in their perceptions of Korea after use of the content. Regression analysis conducted with the same variables showed consistent results, particularly with national brand. Meanwhile, in the regression analysis conducted with changes in perception after use, we found that when controlling for the influence of movie and drama use, K-pop use did not have a statistically significant pure effect on changes in perception. This is a result that we believe signifies the stronger roles that audiovisual media, such as film and drama, play in the formation of cultural perceptions, in comparison to music, which only appeals to one's sense of hearing. In the second question, we examined the association between Hallyu perceptions and life in Korea. And for this question, we specifically analyzed how one's favorable attitude toward Hallyu content was associated with, 1, the quality of one's interpersonal relationships in Korea, as well as with, 2, the level of one's cultural adaptation to Korean life. While there are slight differences across content type, in general, international students with more favorable attitudes toward Hallyu content tend to experience more positive and sincere forms of interpersonal relationships with both Koreans and non-Korean foreigners. And in terms of cultural adaptation, those with more favorable attitudes toward Korean dramas in particular tend to experience less difficulties in everyday life, as well as less difficulties at school. These results imply that Hallyu content, especially dramas and music, play important roles in facilitating life in Korea. One reason for this may be that dramas and music are more culturally and regularly accessible than Korean movies, which tend to require higher levels of acquired cultural taste and familiarity to fully understand and enjoy. Also, when compared to movies and music, dramas do tend to offer more direct, diverse, and accessible depictions of Korean culture across 20-so hours of audiovisual material. In our third research question, we start to examine the role of social media in the use of Hallyu culture. Engaging in reading, writing, and fandom activities on social media, in general, with a few exceptions, were significantly correlated with frequency of K-movie, drama, and music use. In regards to content favorability, frequent engagement in social media reading and writing activities was positively associated with favorable attitudes toward K content, confirming that in order to locate and target international audiences who are well disposed toward Hallyu, your best bet will be to visit social media platforms. However, engagement in fandom activities through social media that you see down there was not significantly associated with how favorable one viewed K content. Why is this so? It may be that the frequency of fandom activities doesn't matter as much as the quality of activities. We will have to examine this aspect more accurately with future research. However, frequent engagement in social media reading, writing, and fandom activities did show significant association with frequent engagement in general K fandom activities. In particular, social media fandom activities down there were associated with both active and passive forms of fan practices. Active fandom activities include practices such as producing fan content or attending various fan-related events, while passive activities refer to practices such as reading Hallyu-related information or habitual use of Hallyu content. So generally in line with what we observed above, frequent use of social media is closely tied with frequent engagement in Hallyu fandom activities. Again, we can confirm that avid international users of K content can be easily located on social media. And we can further infer that much of the K fandom activities take place within social media as well. With our third question, we further examined how use of Hallyu content through social media was related to engagement in Hallyu fandom activities. Analysis showed that statistically significant associations were found in relation to K music fandom. However, no association was found with K-movies and dramas, and this is most likely due to the fact that our study did not measure for K-content use that occurs on video platforms such as YouTube. In the networking-based social media that we examined, it is difficult to access full movies or dramas. And then we have some regression analysis results, but I will quickly skip over that due to time constraints and move on to our last research question. And here, we closely examined our respondents' thoughts regarding Korea's national brand in terms of social image, trustworthiness and favorability, and safety and entertainment image. Above all, those who more frequently engaged in social media activities more positively evaluated Korea as having a trustworthy and favorable image. One particular finding that sticks out is this negative association down there that you see in red. That negative association between social media fandom activities and safety and entertainment image. The characteristics of our respondents may assist our understanding of this negative correlation. And as previously mentioned, our respondents are international students currently living in Korea. It may be possible that those who are active K-fans online have experienced some disappointment or discrepancies regarding Korea's entertainment as they directly accumulated real-life experience living here. This finding suggests the need to work on maintaining Korea's national brand in the offline real world as well, so that it coincides with what is being experienced online and in the general media. Considering the unique characteristics of our respondents, we conducted some additional analyses to see if length of stay in Korea was related to K-fandom activities. And we found that indeed there were correlations, but these correlations were negative in direction, meaning that the longer one lives in Korea, the less Hallyu fandom activities one engages in. This could be due to the fact that the longer one has lived in Korea, the more diverse types of experiences one becomes exposed to, and the more diverse types of interests one develops, experiences and interests beyond Hallyu. In a sense, there is some consistency with the observation just made above in the previous slide, suggesting that interest in Hallyu may drop once someone begins a residential life in Korea. This actually highlights the importance of utilizing the results we saw above. We need to further focus on using social media to advance favorable attitudes toward Korea and toward Hallyu, so that when these foreign residents return to their home country, they can maintain their ties with Korea, as well as rekindle their cultural Hallyu activities. So far, I shared with you many complex findings from our study. So to conclude our presentation, I would like to summarize some of the key takeaways that we believe may be helpful for those of you who wish to integrate media in your work to reach young people. 1, compared to music, audiovisual content such as films and dramas are more effective in transferring cultural ideas and forming positive attitudes toward culture. 2, compared to movies, long-term drama series that are more direct and accessible in their depictions of culture may be more effective in influencing cultural ideas and attitudes. And 3, young users actively involved in Hallyu are avid users of social media. And social media plays a significant role in forming perceptions of culture and providing a platform for cultural activities. Due to the limitations of the survey method, there are several findings in our study that are difficult to interpret based solely on our data. Hopefully, the next section of our panel, where we have prepared for you a documentary containing the intimate and personal voices of Hallyu fans. Hopefully, this documentary will assist you in filling in the gaps and putting our discussions into perspective. Thank you very much.
Okay, so that is going to give us some baseline for understanding the subsequent part of the analysis, which consists of a documentary and then consists of an analysis of how all this applies to evangelization. So we'll invite up to the stage director of the documentary that we're going to watch, also on the relation between new media and Hallyu, Im Da-bin. If you can come up to the stage and take the microphone, please.
Hi. Hi, hello. It is a great honor to meet you today. My name is Im Da-bin, and I'm going to introduce you our dearest documentary. And here's our team. We have 4 co-producers, Kim Seong, Lee Yoon-seok, and An Hyun-ji, and myself, Im Da-bin. We have produced this documentary for about half a year, since last November. Before watching, I'd like to briefly explain the content and topic of the documentary. So, as you may have seen earlier from the survey, Korean cultural industry, including dramas, movies, and music, is making remarkable strides on social media. Among them, we focus on K-pop, which represents a Korean music and performance industry. K-pop has grown steadily for about 10 years since the great success of Gangnam Style in 2012. And within the decade, social media has always supported K-pop the most. I think we can surely say that K-pop is one of the most successful case in using social media. Then, what is so special when it comes to the relationship between K-pop and social media? It is that the two-way communication of social media creates a new and unique characteristics to K-pop fandom. And we're talking about global communication and global fandom, not just in Korea. So we try to capture these things that survey can show you, such as vivid communication between K-pop fandoms through social media, or how they create a new wave of Hallyu, or how they affect the world in a good way. We think those moments are the most important thing when we try to understand how social media creates new community. So I don't want to spoil anymore, so let's just watch our documentary together. We hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Dynamite.
How you like that?
Yeah.
Blackpink?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It's Monster X.
Yeah.
Oh, is it shootout?
No.
Alligator. No. It's the. Oh, if you don't know, now you know. Gambler.
Yes. Okay.
Oh. What's going on, man? Too many songs in my head.
I listened to their music a lot and it felt very comforting.
Dancing performances and the hard work and talent of these artists.
Amazing singers, incredible rappers, and powerful dancers.
It's very poetic in a way. I feel like they really love their fans and they really care about them.
Like I got attached to it.
Like it's a completely different genre than like the Western music.
It's a very modern kind of poppy thing.
And of course, it's not just, you know, the music, it's the choreography, it's their appearance, the fashion as well. So I think all of that combined into one.
K-pop is getting globalized throughout the world for its unique attractive points, like attractive artists, unique dancing choreography, and addictive songs. This success is achieved thanks to the social media.
My friend showed me a video. That was the first time, and then the second time and the time that I actually got into it was from YouTube. I saw a video. It was a Weekly Idol episode. I think it was a BTS episode.
The first time I got to hear about K-pop was through a documentary on TV from French journalists because it was in 2012. I think it's because of Gangnam Style.
One day I was at a friend's house and he was just flicking through social media on his phone and he started listening to some music and it kind of caught my ear and I'm like, oh, what's that? And it ended up being the teaser for Twice's Feel Special. Primarily it was Sana's teaser for Feel Special.
It was YouTube. I was looking at different videos on YouTube and I got a recommended video for BTS. And now I'm here because I think they've opened a lot of Westerners to how great Korea can be. And it's definitely opened a lot of people's eyes, I think, and introduced Korea to the West.
I was around 15, I would say. And I was just scrolling through YouTube and, you know, YouTube gives recommendations of new videos. And I got a recommendation for Crayon Pop. I think it was either Lonely Christmas or Bar Bar Bar. And then I started liking GOT7 and that's just when the ball started rolling.
It all started in 2015 when EXO started to get popular. Back then I had the Tumblr account and on Tumblr suddenly I started seeing this K-pop group and I was like, who is that? I googled it and I was like, oh, this is like a Korean band. So I think I just checked the first song that was on Google and then I added it to my playlist, only this one song, which was Call Me Baby.
I use most social platforms, so I use YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and because I feel like I'm in that bubble now, the K-pop bubble, every time I open Twitter or open Instagram, there's always like news about K-pop on there. There's always, especially I get a lot of my news and information from other fans on Twitter and social media.
I use Twitter all the time. I get all my information from there, like concerts, merchandise, fan events, cafe events, everything is on Twitter.
Sometimes I'll watch like informational type videos about where different fan events are in Korea so that it'll help me go to them as well and participate.
Yeah, for me, I use YouTube, like I said, for foreigners. It's really hard for events. Sometimes the events aren't prepared for foreigners to be there. So like the videos give like, okay, this is where you go, this is what you can ask, and they even give you like some words in Korean to ask for information, so it's amazing.
When I moved to America, it was really not as available to us, so social media was a good bridge. Now with YouTube, it's so easy. Now it's, I think, half an hour and everything's out. And fans do live translation now. There's one show on Naver now called 심야 아이돌, where Kihyun and IM is the host of the show, and while they're doing their show, someone on Twitter just live translate the same time as them. So fans can get direct information right away.
Social media is a tool for obtaining information. It is also a platform enabling communication with each other through content. Through social media, it is easy for fans to share K-pop's attractive points.
I want to talk about K-pop. I want to share my love for it with as many people as I can. I actually showed that AT's Hala Hala video with all of my coworkers. They were like, who's this group? And I'm like, you guys have to check it out. So I opened up my YouTube channel and I started uploading my reaction videos, and I just wanted to like really connect with people that felt the same way that I did, because all I had at the time was my cousin to talk about K-pop with. But on the internet, you have so many people that share the same love that you have for K-pop, and that's my driving force, connecting with people and also helping promote the groups, artists, and songs that I love, that I just want to tell everyone about.
I would just like buy albums and open it and just be excited like by myself, and I feel like I wanted to like share that excitement when people would say that I inspired them in some way, whether it's like inspiring them to start a collection or get more into like stan a group more, or start their own channel. I've gotten a lot of comments.
And now I have a page in Canada called like K-pop buy sell trade, where I help people to sell or to look for rare items, and they can exchange, trade together, and prevent like fraud or scammers, something like that. To help the K-pop community. I also have a fan page on Instagram for now. It's for Kihyun Monsta X. Mostly just like update what his activity right now, just keep promoting him. What's he doing, what kind of show he's going to, nice picture and video and some fan cams that I took.
It's nice to hear what other people interpret, because everyone's view of music is different. So when you're finding people reacting to it and listening to like their thoughts and ideas on songs, going back and listening again to that same song or watching the music video, you could be like, oh, actually I didn't pick up on certain things, especially when there's a language barrier in the way, when people can sort of interpret the songs for you and understand the lyrics, and going back and being like, oh, okay, there's a lot more to this than just the surface level music video and song.
Any birthday events that we can see on Twitter, like sometimes it's, what I did was like for Jin's birthday, we rent like a cafe in Canada, and we just make like in Korea, like the cup sleeves and everything. Yeah.
Actually, one time I did volunteer at a K-pop convention in my city, and part of that convention we had a lot of games. So I organized like a K-pop challenge where you play 10 seconds of a song, and then whoever knows the choreography would go out, dance, and then the music shuffles to another song. I think when I participated in that K-pop convention, it was my first time being in such an environment where everybody knows the song and everybody knows like the choreography. So it felt like it just felt happy and energetic. And then you can even, when people are dancing, you can hear the floor and the walls shaking. It was something, I don't know, I don't have the words to describe it, honestly. K-pop is deeply intertwined in their daily lives. Fans learn Korean by themselves, follow the dance choreography and makeup of their favorite celebrities.
그 엑소를 통해서, 음악을 통해서 한국을 알게 됐고, 그 한국에 대한 관심이 많이 생겼고, 그 문화도 역사, 언어 다 관심이 많아서 그렇게 전공하게 됐어요.
Learning Korean definitely helps me kind of understand what a song might be about. So when, you know, in the lyrics they say like Sesang or Sarang, I know that it's about the world or it's about love. The fact that they're putting out more educational programs and projects for their fans is great, and I think it's definitely a good way to help bridge the language and cultural gaps between, you know, the artists and their international fan base who might want to better understand them more.
Even in some cases I would like translate for my friend, so that way it helps me learn and also like actually understand what's going on because I translate for somebody else.
And especially like because I joined the student club for dancing, so when I watch a lot of the K-pop like videos, they talk about similar things that my friends talk about when we're in practice, so it really helps me in my everyday life.
The fancy choreography and performance is one of the most loved characteristics of K-pop. Fans want to be part of this performance.
일단 외국인 분들이 K-pop 댄스는 배운 지 많이 배우신 지가 2, 3년이라기보다는 좀 더 오래됐어요. 외국에서 K-pop 더 유행하고 나서부터 쭉 그래서 2, 3년보다 더 오랫동안 많이 배우고 싶어 하셨어요.
Yeah, I would say there is quite a lot of K-pop dance studio now, even in smaller cities in France. And especially what is really popular is being in a dance cover group. my sister and I, we both participated in two K-pop random play dances co-organized by Go Tae-kyung, who has a huge channel of 2 million subscribers, and it got uploaded on YouTube, and it was really huge. At some point, we were dancing to Brave Girls Rollin', and 2 members of a group came and danced with us. So it was a really big surprise.
Mimicking the artist's makeup is also one of the most entertaining part of K-pop. She is getting Blackpink member Lisa's makeup.
I really liked it. It was such a great experience and she did such a good job. I really am interested in K-pop and makeup, so I think the algorithm just pops up on my Instagram, so I see a lot of those kind of posts. In like America, they do a lot of makeup, but it's really heavy. So the Korean K-pop style makeup just looks more like cute and feminine and playful. It's like we're very attracted to look at attractive things, and they do a very good job with their makeup, so it just adds to the drama of the music video.
Furthermore, they also create a new type of K-pop fandom. People who meet for the first time can be friends through K-pop. Through this connection, they also take action to spread good influence throughout the world.
GOT7 came to Canada twice to Vancouver, and one of the times we organized a charity event.
Are you friends? Well, we met here.
You guys met here?
We're friends now.
Oh, so you met in Korea?
Yeah, just now we are meeting for the first time.
Oh, you got close in this concert?
Yeah.
Yes, this concert.
I was saying like social media is helping us a lot to communicate to each other, and then that's why in last March we created an open chat room in Telegram for the global fans, and then we also create the Kakao chat for the Korean fans to create some discussions and also to have together some of suggestions coming from them, so it will be easier for them to communicate with us. K-pop for Planet is a platform that we created and also we set up as a place for those who enjoy K-pop music or even other Korean cultures aspects like Korean dramas, Korean movies, and other things, and then have also a desire to fight for the climate justice. So it's a place for K-pop fans, but also a climate enthusiast. As a K-pop fan, we celebrate our idol's birthday, anniversary, and all by creating a creative project like planting trees, adopting animals, or even creating the forest. Like there's an RM forest in South Korea as well. And then that's a big project coming from the K-pop fans.
K-pop 팬들이 조금 더 힘을 모아서 본격적으로 목소리를 내면 K-pop 산업 자체도 좀 더 지속 가능한 그런 방식으로 만들 수 있지 않을까라고 생각을 해서 이제 K-pop for Planet을 런칭하고 저도 함께하게 되었습니다. 일단 저희가 진행한 캠페인 중에서 이제 가장 주력으로 진행하고 있는 캠페인은 작년 7월에 진행한 No K-pop on a Dead Planet, 줄여서 NKDP 캠페인이라고 부르는데 이제 말 그대로 죽은 지구에 K-팝은 없다라는 뜻의 캠페인이에요. 네, 이거는 저희가 이제 국내 팬분들로부터 사용하지 않는 앨범을 수거한 이제 플라스틱 앨범 처리반 K-pop for Planet이라는 캠페인의 액션이었는데요. 저희가 작년 9월에 NKDP 온라인 청원 캠페인으로 이제 엔터사들에게 지속 가능한 K-팝을 요청드렸지만 답변을 받지 못해서 저희가 좀 더 확실하게 답변을 받고 그리고 또 확실하게 변하는 모습을 보고 싶어서 이렇게 오프라인 액션을 기획하게 되었습니다. 그리고 또 저희가 이번 캠페인을 하면서 롤링페이퍼 사이트를 준비를 했어요. 그래서 팬분들이 직접 엔터사에 요구하는 내용을 남기실 수 있게 저희가 그런 사이트를 마련해 뒀는데 거기에도 국제 팬분들이 영어로 많이 메시지를 남겨주셨습니다.
K-pop for Planet have like some campaigns they do, and we are all part of it. And currently we are starting to start, like we actually started it yesterday, which is a streaming campaign where we ask all the streaming companies, especially the Korean ones, to go green.
캠페인 관련 내용도 이제 SNS에 많이 올리면 팬분들이 많이 공유를 해주시거나 또 궁금한 점 있으시면 언제든지 메시지나 또는 답글로 많이 연락을 주시는데 가수들이 그걸 보고 뭐 직접적으로 답글로 고맙다고 얘기를 하는 경우도 많이 있고 또는 이제 라이브 방송에서 그런 것들을 언급하면서 큰 힘이 된다 많이 도움을 받는다 이런 식으로 말씀해 주시면 이제 팬분들도 이제 거기에 또 원동력을 받아서 계속해서 선한 영향력을 행사할 수 있는 것 같습니다.
I pursue to kind of keep the community kind and positive. You know, I don't really like spreading negativity in any way like that, so I really feel proud of kind of spreading that positivity as well, because I feel like we need more of that.
K-pop is being shared, spread out, and making new communities. We are looking forward to K-pop fandoms sharing this love and passion throughout the world for a better place. Let's keep an eye on how K-pop fans will change the world.
Okay, there was a nice documentary about K-pop, but I could see how that relates to faith right away, because I see when in the video people share same gestures like dance choreography and same music and language that brings them together and makes them act for the good of the planet or good of the humanity. And you know, me myself, when I travel to Europe, when I attend weddings of European friends, and as you know, the order of Catholic wedding mass is basically all the same in any country you go to. And when I go through the gestures that I learned in a Korean church, and I can repeat those gestures at a foreign country, it makes me connect with them as a human community. And I think I can see why K-pop has been a relevant subject for Christians to explore. But that's my personal opinion. We need an opinion from a more somebody who studied this more in depth. So the closing conclusion is prepared by Father John the Apostolic Lee Heung-kwan. He's in charge of the Jesuit Youth Center called MAGIS, and he will present how church can use the insights we've gained from K-pop to better spread the message of evangelism. Please.
네, 이 동시 통역이 있는 줄 알았다면 제가
If I'd known that there was simultaneous interpretation, then I would not have prepared everything in English, but I wasn't aware. So let me just go ahead and present with the English slides. The slides, as you can see here, I'm going to focus on following the way of Jesus Christ and a lesson that we learned from the survey.
It is a privilege for me to be the spokesperson of this session. I'm Jeong Lee, a Catholic priest of the Society of Jesus. In response to the two previous previous presentations, we have seen that the church is now experiencing a new normal, which may lead it to be more open and creative and audacious. Number one, look at what is happening around us. New channels, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc. Pope Francis is, as the representative head of the church, is a good model of understanding social media. It seems that he does not have any fear of using it. Rather, he even enjoys it in a pastoral way. He has various social media accounts, and he, or perhaps his official social media team, are very active in using them. As we saw in the two previous presentations, the church is facing today's fast technological changes. This can be a fresh challenge for all ecclesial communities because many youths of the world are embracing social media and applications for numerous reasons, searching for friends and seeking information in accordance with their likes. Number two, judge. There must be a proper and creative way of using social media in the church, following the model of Jesus Christ. It is a common misunderstanding that the Catholic Church is firm and rigid, but the reality is a little bit different. It seems that the church always takes its position as teacher, which means it has the truth and the people of God have to receive it from the church officials, such as clergy, religious. There is some truth in it, in this, but the church is now becoming more of a pilgrim, which can learn deeply from the experiences that it has been undergoing in the realities of the changing world. That is a truth of human life that we find modeled in Jesus Christ. Jesus lived in the world as a pilgrim, learning and adapting. He is not just a person from a story 2,000 years ago. He is a model on how to live in the contemporary world. Here and now, together with us, he would learn and actively live in these new creations of social media and applications. When we look at the story of Jesus and his personality, we see that he was a creative youth. Sure, he never bound himself up in the Jewish law. Rather, he presented a new normal of being with God. He listened to the blind begging, asked an insane Gentile's name, and approached the Samaritan woman to talk about salvation. Such behaviors were forbidden in his time, but he didn't seem to care. Rather, he created and introduced new way of meeting God the Father, always flexible and available. Number 3, act. The implementation of social media. In the life of Jesus, we always find a way, even if it does not seem suitable right now. It can be an invitation to people of goodwill in today's modern world. Social media and new technologies like applications clearly urge the church to be more sensitive. At the same time, the atmosphere of modern times requires the church to discern how to implement these new normal means according to its tradition. As I have said, Pope Francis does so with braveness and audaciousness. It is becoming essential not to be isolated from change, but to embrace the new normal. It is inevitable. Through the social media, youth express what they are, who they want to become, and how they want to live. In response to their voices, the social media offers models of life, but sometimes without questioning what is genuine, what is the most meaningful, and what is happiness. Nonetheless, it is valid for the church to learn from social media and those who are enthusiastic about it because it still attracts the people of today. It is possible to find the fullness of God in his various creations. This includes finding God in social media users and social media, some images, words, reels, YouTube, videos, shorts, and TikToks. A Christian idiom gives a glimpse of what living is in today's changing world. It's called Deus Semper Maior, which interprets God is always greater, God is always bigger. This calls us to consider that the great Creator does not just lie hidden in our old-fashioned practices. He is actively working as Creator in the lives of youth via social media. I would like to deliver final closing remarks. With this, we would like to conclude our session. During this past hour, we have presented on our survey research and shared with you our documentary, both of which intended to convey the close relationship between social media and Hallyu fandom. While we focus on the phenomenon of Hallyu, we believe that there are clear lessons that the Church can take away from this discussion. In terms of how social media can be used with youth to develop positive attitudes toward the Church, and how social media can be utilized to facilitate religious activities online. My discussion during the third and final part of our session particularly stressed this need for the Church to embrace new forms of media culture to actively engage the youth population. We hope that our presentation has strengthened your understanding of the cultural impact of social media and that it may assist your current efforts with media. Thank you.
Thank you for that very insightful closing remark. So that's it for today's forum. And when we go on social media, sometimes we see a lot of fighting, a lot of toxicity, a lot of hate, and it's easy to despair and say that space is doomed or future is not looking great. But today we met thought leaders from the new generation who's actively engaging with social media to solve those problems and trying to spread Christian messages, message of good into the world. And I'd say the takeaway from today is that future is looking rather good, right? So let's give ourselves and all the prisoners today a big round of applause, and let's close the International Youth Forum of SIGNIS World Congress 2022. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.